All right, so you're listening to Two Dimensional Champions. This is your wonderful host, Julian, and
I am that a new toy.
yes,
I
yes,
can't
yes.
take myself seriously when I introduce myself as Thadnator, so I have to
Yeah,
do it in that voice.
I think that's why I had such a hard time doing that
Listen, man,
name
all
because
the
I just
cool
couldn't
people on the
think of
internet
anything.
have handles that they go by. That's just how
I
it
guess that.
is. Those are the
Yeah,
rules.
hmm. Yeah, I guess that's true. So today we watched the first 5 episodes of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. When I was a kid, I had a problem with my SHs. And so any word that ended in sh, I would just say
S,
ass. Yeah, so 6-year-old me would have said Grimgar, Fantasy, and ass.
which there's some
Uh,
of that.
there is actually more of that than I expected, and almost less than I expected
Yeah,
at the same time.
this is an interesting one.
Yeah, so after
This is
uh,
refreshing,
yeah, this I was like, it was like stepping into like a really nice bath.
right?
It's like the perfect
It's like
temperature, and
preheated, the steam's coming up, but it's not too hot. You just
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
slide in and relax.
You get in, and it's just like, just really refreshing. This was really nice. I gotta admit that this was a nice surprise. Because again, I came in. I think you came into this show too. We didn't know anything about it. This was just you picked it, right?
I was looking for anime that had higher reviews because we were on such a poor streak.
Yeah, the shit show that was the last 2 episodes. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, do we have any emails or anything like that?
No, not yet.
Our
I
yeah,
can feel the people thinking of us and thinking of
yeah,
suggestions, but they're just too hesitant to type them out. And that's okay,
yeah,
people. Just keep on holding us close to your heart.
yeah. I mean, I feel the good vibes, but
Yeah.
they said write some of those good vibes down and send it to us. So our Twitter links are on our SoundCloud page. So just go there if you want to do the Twitter business.
Mm,
What's that email again? It's to at what's the email?
2DC request at gmail.com.
Yep, just shoot some stuff our way, and also give us a review on iTunes. Write something or give us some stars. That super helps.
Oh, super nice shout out to the one guy that did leave a review. You were our first, so you know who you are if you're still listening. And
Lady, I think.
or lady.
Yeah, I think it was a lady. Yeah.
Um but thank you. That was really nice. And
That was awesome.
yeah,
I mean, I read that review every morning just to
right.
get myself pumped up for just living. You know,
Right.
it's a good.
Life is good today.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, so let's get going. This show, I'm not going to do what I did last week, which was I just
Went into it
we went.
without doing the
Yeah, there was no quote unquote non spoiler section. I just started blabbing about it. This show. We need there is a safe space, a spoiler safe space in
right.
the next few minutes. So yeah, let's give this. What did you think of it?
I thought it was really good. It's suspicious the way that it does things.
Hmm.
Like um the combat was sort of grueling,
Yeah,
which isn't really normal. Like in the first few episodes, like the sort of beating guys collecting loot. Because I mean, the genre, like the in a video game like story, people are saying words they don't really remember, kind of like an amnesia thing or something like that. But in that sort of world, like this isn't the first time that's been done. Like Sword Art Online was sort of played with that, like, and it's been going on from like way more than this. But the way that this anime's take on it was a lot different. It was very much like you have no idea what the hell is going on. You're dealing with combat like you would deal with combat as a person, even though it's like you're in a video game, which was very peculiar because it like took them 2 episodes, I think, to kill a goblin, which
Yeah,
would normally be like the first 5 minutes,
yeah, yeah,
you know. So, but what they do in that time is they really develop the characters well, the character dynamics, and how they like all there's just a lot of feelings and stuff like that. Like you get to know the characters better, um, which I believe makes it a better story.
yeah, yeah. I think this is one of the I think most interestingly developed casts that we've seen in a while. And what's interesting is, yeah, there is definitely some similarities that people will draw from Sword Art Online. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Even there, I had some like I still had Konosuba rolling through my
Yeah,
brain. A lot of it too. Actually, my first joke when I started watching the show was like, "Oh, these are the people that got sent." When after they died by what's her face, the
right,
Aqua, right? And she just didn't go with them. These were
right.
the these were the chumps that got sent to this other planet. So there is a lot of that, but what I found really interesting is, like you were saying, it is definitely the most. So all these other series, especially with like Sword Art Online, Kirito fucking just like he becomes boss so fast. He's just awesome at everything.
Yeah,
He has a couple of fuck ups at the beginning, but like,
but it's like they're
really
almost
sad.
not really fuck ups. They're like scheduled fuck ups. I should trip at
Yeah,
least 3 times before I murder an army.
yeah.
Check.
And then the one group that he was with, where they did all die in that dungeon, you really felt bad for that girl who died because she was kind of cute and she was kind of flirty with him, and like you were like,
Spoiler alert
oh,
for Sword Art Online.
oh yeah, shit, yeah, that was like episode 4.
I don't even remember that
Yeah,
that part.
yeah, yeah. That was something that I thought about. I was like, and you never really, there's no really. He kind of feels sad about it, but then he gets like the hotter girl, the cooler equipment. He bounces back, and he's just more of a badass. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like okay. And so yeah, this show really did feel like normal people getting sent into this really crazy world and having to really start from 0 to hero. And I think that's one of the nicest things about it is like every character I really felt like earned all of their actions in this show.
Yeah, like the mannerisms make sense. Even the
Yeah,
the Dark Knight, his
yeah,
mannerisms sort of end up making like I don't really like him as a character, but his mannerisms like you end up sort of understanding him more as a character. He doesn't just seem like a trope as
yeah.
much.
I mean, he's annoying as fuck, but by the end of the first 5 episodes, even he's kind of 3 dimensional. You know what I mean? Even he has some depth to him, and a range, and his interactions start getting more interesting. So yeah, this was a really surprising show, and I actually after 5 episodes, I was hooked. I want to watch the rest of it. It's going to be a 12 episode show.
Yeah, I'm
I,
not sure
I
if it's a week to week for me, but I definitely want to finish it. I definitely want to finish the story.
Yeah, I don't think I could like I don't know if I could religiously follow it every week, but yeah, I would definitely like I did today, plow through all the episodes or whatever. I
Right.
mean, because it really it puts you into like a kind of false sense of relaxation. You're like, oh,
It
everything's
made me
really
really uncomfortable actually.
yeah.
It
It
almost like
was
stressed me out on like a race level, stressed me out.
oh shit,
Like
really?
I just because I just like had this feeling that something was up, and also they
Yeah,
sort of like dropped maybe hints on like what these people's past lives were, and that
yeah.
also kind of freaked me out.
That part was really freaky because it's like they sort of have they'll use words,
Mhm.
and they won't know what they mean, like cell phone or one guy carves an airplane. So anyway, without getting into it too much, I think I know we've had sort of like a RPG fantasy anime boom in the past couple of years. I think since Sword Art Online, so there's a lot of it out there. We've reviewed a fair number of those shows, whether they be comedies or dramas or whatever.
Yeah.
This, I think, next to Konosuba, in terms like Konosuba was just hilarious.
Right.
This show really gets the drama right
Yeah, I mean,
for
well, they,
for
they
its-
do different things. If you wanted to do like lighthearted, I would say like is it Ron Pig Girls in a Dungeon? I think is really good lighthearted. If you want to do comedy, I would say Konosuba. And if you wanted to do like serious, this one for sure.
yeah,
That's sort of
yeah,
how like I would say those are my three sort of favorite, and that's how I would separate them.
yeah. I was really impressed. So yeah, I think everybody should watch it. I mean, I
Yeah,
think there's
it's good. It's good. If you've played games, check it out.
yeah, especially if you've got experience in the fantasy game department.
Yeah.
Uh, that's definitely a big
And
point.
don't look at their Wikipedia page.
Oh yeah, that's a good point because you got spoiled,
Yeah, I got
right?
spoiled, so I was gonna pull up names because I'm really bad with names. Instead, I'm just gonna be referring to people as their classes because I remember that. But I went to
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it any worse. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, geez. Oh, I'm sorry, man. So yeah, go ahead and watch this. And with that, we let's get into just real quick the kind of stats. It's based on an ongoing light novel series by Ao Jumanji, which I thought I'm hoping it's a pen name because Jumanji was just like Jumanji, yeah, I fucking love
I
that
was just
movie.
thinking that. I was just thinking like
Yeah,
Robin
yeah. So I
Williams.
and it was illustrated by Ari Shirai. I think it's 8+ volumes at the moment. And a manga adaptation of the series began running last year. The anime is produced by A1 Pictures. This should be a name that should tickle your toes. They did Perfect Insider, Sword Art Online, Seven Deadly Sins. They've done a bunch of shows the past few years.
Have they done Heroic Legend of Arslan?
You know, I actually like. I I should have checked that.
I am disappointed.
I just went through like the couple
Yeah,
ones
the
right
ones
off
that
the top
stand
of.
out. No, those are definitely good shows. I kind of have you seen the Seven Deadly Sins?
So I'm a big fan of the manga. I've tried watching the series, and the anime is no bueno.
Mm.
Like, I mean, it's one of those cases where the art and the comic is really really good. Like the action scenes are really superbly done, and the anime just doesn't have the budget or directing. I don't know what it is, but like they just did not carry over.
Mm.
It seems really flimsy, but yeah, there's a second season of that coming, so we'll.
We'll see. I mean, it's done by Netflix, and I sort of figure, right? Didn't Netflix produce it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They picked it up after the fact, and now
Okay.
they're calling it a Netflix original. But yeah, yeah. So Grimgar is licensed by Funimation. That means you can watch it on their site or their app, or you can do what I did and just watch it on Hulu. Um, so there you go. It's there. The light novel and the manga is not available here stateside. So yeah, that's the info. Oh, and the director, actually, this will also be something that'll tickle your toes, is Namakura Ryosuke. And he had a very interesting list of stuff that he's been a part of, and I just picked the highlights. He did second key animation on Claymore episode 19. We were talking about Claymore last week, so I was like, yes!
Yeah.
He was the
Claymore is
director.
so good,
Oh,
except for
yeah.
the last couple of episodes in the anime.
Yeah, just don't watch the last one. He was a director. He was actually the assistant director of the whole series, an episode director, and a scriptwriter for Monster.
Monster is
Uh,
also really good.
yeah, yeah,
Dude, some of these animes I just want to like watch again. But
yeah.
then it's like, wasn't Monster like 70 something episodes,
74
75
episodes.
episodes? And then you think, 74 episodes of life. I'm not sure, but maybe.
I actually don't even know where to watch Monster. Like, I don't even know if it's streaming or
The
anything.
internet.
Yeah, I mean the internet. Yeah. Because I know the manga is available in the states. They're actually republishing it in like a special 2-in-1 edition. That's actually really nice. So anyway,
That's cool.
so yeah, from here
So, yeah, so
on,
I think we've Gotten sidetracked enough. You want to go
Yeah,
into it? So do you want to
yeah,
talk about the first three episodes first, and then the fourth and fifth episode?
yeah. I think we should do that. And I'm going to phrase because I was taking notes as watching it, so I'm definitely going to phrase this in. I had no idea what was going to happen, so I think that's an important, at least how I watched it. But yeah, if you haven't seen the first 5 episodes yet and you're interested in checking it out, stop listening here, come back
Right.
and listen to us after you've watched the first five
Definitely.
episodes. And if it seems like it's kind of boring the first couple and you're not really sure where it's going and it kind of seems lame, stick with
Oh yeah, and well, I guess before you go into it, so you're talking about how I'm sort of interesting about the animes. The anime that I think stood out the most to me was actually Evangelion. That sort of like gave me like a vibe
it.
because of like they would have sort of like goofy whatever scenes, and then things would just like
Go very wrong.
would escalate quickly. You know, so
Yeah.
like it really that's sort of what made me go like you know. I mean, yeah,
I think that's actually a good comparison because that's another series that starts very traditionally and almost to the point where you're like, really? You
right.
know?
Sort of seems like it's taking a while. It sort of takes a little while to get into. There's some scenes that are moving really slow, and all you hear are like cicadas.
Yeah.
You know, but
And then suddenly you're crying,
right,
trying to pick up the
right,
pieces of your life, and
right.
you're just not sure.
You're drunk in the bathroom, just like crying while like with broken glass, and it's terrible.
Barfing,
Right,
yeah.
like
Reassessing your life, yeah. So yeah, that's actually a really good. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good point.
yeah,
Episode
yeah.
one.
Boom, episode one. Um, Yeah, so well, I mean, I instead of like on episode by episode, I sort of want to talk about like what you think different people's backstories.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, well, because it's very subtle stuff.
It is really subtle, and I feel like I'm reading, I may be reading too into it, and it could be complete bullshit, but like with the mage,
Mhm.
I think that she's like actually overweight or actually was really overweight because if you remember that whole exchange on the campfire
Oh
when she was
yeah,
like really insistent on being like I
that she
mean
was
they're
fat.
having like and this was weird because it was all like this like oh your boobs are big, oh you're trying to hide your boobs and that sort of stuff, which I don't really like, you
Yeah,
know. But you know, I mean, they even had a bit of a nosebleed, which I sort of freaked out about. But then, like, I realized that it wasn't the candy thing, so it was okay.
you're
Um,
okay.
but like,
Yeah,
yeah, but she seemed to like hold on to that too much, you know.
yeah. She was, and she doesn't get a lot of dialogue, and it's hard for her. Like she even admits that it's hard for her to talk
Well,
to
she
the
just seems like
guys.
super insecure.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually a good point. Yeah. So honestly, with their backstories and stuff, I don't want to give the impression I was watching it without thinking about it, but I just didn't think about it too much, because I was just like kind of going through
Well, there was only two people that I thought of. One was her and that
it.
exchange, and the other one was the priest, and I feel like he was like physically abused.
Really, you think
Yeah,
that?
because like the way that he was talking about like not being friends and like he said other things about like I don't know. It just seemed like like he came from a haunting past of like broke like even though he was like really trying to do well, trying to keep everyone together and stuff like that. He seemed really insecure in that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, I don't know. It was just like a weird sort of like there's just some things. It's like they do this with the anime where it's like Jojo Jojo da 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 da, but then there'll be like a couple lines or a couple of expressions, and just me and my little brain are just like, that's off. Like there's something going on. Like with
Yeah.
this show, with this scene, with this character, with this mindset, that I just don't quite grab.
Yeah, and there's a couple of times where there are conversations, actually in episode 4, there's a conversation where the hunter is talking about her dreams with the wolf
Yeah.
god or whatever,
Yeah.
and that was interesting because the Death Knight guy, Dark Knight guy, got really mad at her and was like, "Well, what's the point of that story?" Like I was waiting, and she was like, "Oh, there's no point."
That
Yeah,
was
there's,
funny.
and it was interesting because you really get a feel for a lot of conversations are like that, especially in a group of like kids like this, essentially, where there isn't a point to a lot of the stuff that gets said. But what's creepy about that
Is it,
is it's still really important
right. And maybe there is a
because
point.
yeah, you feel like there's nothing that actually doesn't have a point in what they say, even if they joke about it or like get frustrated or something like that. You really think like, oh wait a second, like this is
It also could be that I've
what?
been watching way too much like Perfect Insider and Erased and like mystery sort of shows. Could be completely
Yeah.
bullshit, but
Well, I mean, this
but
guy wrote. I mean, he was the assistant director on Monster, so he knows.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
it seems like that. It almost seems like
yeah,
there's some mystery at play, but it's like in layers. It's like
yeah,
sort of down below.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and the yeah. Now I'm thinking about the that scene where they were talking with the mage, and she got really insecure. And now, because my initial reaction was like, oh, really?
right. I was
Are we
doing
doing a
that
boob
too. A,
scene?
a,
Yeah,
a,
like
a, like blah blah blah. Well, you're flat chested, so I'm not gonna listen to you. Hurt. You know. But
yeah, and it was just kind of. But now that I think about it like that, it's yeah, much creepier. And then what was interesting too was the tank, the warrior guy, and his he did a carving of an airplane.
yeah.
That was like that felt
Yeah,
weird.
that felt weird too. It made me think like yeah, it made me wonder if he was like a pilot or something like that, or like just like a craftsman. Well, but like he did seem
Yeah,
to like really have a fondness to whittling, but that has nothing to do with his character. Like
yeah,
a fondness of whittling and of cooking.
yeah. And the cooking it was interesting too because he was the warrior of the group, but he was like also the most gentle. He kind of reminded me of you remember I think it's Pippin from Berserk. Remember the big guy
Yeah.
who like never really said anything? He reminded me of him because he was like very sweet, but he could kick ass. And then when he got mad, you knew shit was serious when he got
Yeah.
mad, or you know. So yeah, that was interesting, and
I thought that the
yeah,
rogue boss, like the thief trainer, was like ridiculously sexualized, and then like nothing else was sexualized like that.
yeah.
Like there's just some parts of that that are just kind of weird to me.
So that was my issue with the first 3 episodes. Is so this really felt like this was a whiplash show for me. So I had 3 episodes where I was like, ah, really? And that scene where the mage, he's so the priest is feeding the pigeons,
Right.
and like a bird lands on the mage, and she like gets pushed backwards, and he like catches her. I was like, oh fuck this, like it's just
Right.
so the first 3, I was really kind of there would be these scenes where I'd be like,
Very eye rolly.
what am I supposed to do with this? Because then they would have some really interesting interactions. Like I really liked how the friendship was built between the thief and the healer. I thought that was a really they had interesting conversations. It really seemed like an interesting take on like the comrade friend or like I don't know. It was just an interesting dynamic that you don't normally see done like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because usually the emphasis is placed on the male female relationship.
Or there's like the male I got your back, bro. But this is like the male like what is life?
Yeah, and so like the one you see more often in these kinds of shows is like the Death Knight and the Thief, that kind of
Right.
back and forth. I thought it was funny too that they only had to train a week at their respective trainers. I thought that was really because they obviously needed more training. Like they were I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That.
And then yeah, and then also that the guy was the main character is a thief. Konosuba, he's a thief. I feel like it's like a popular main character but not main character
I mean,
role.
is around picking girls in a dungeon. He's essentially a thief.
He was essentially a thief too. That's true. Yeah, I feel like that was another thing that made me roll my eyes. I was like, it's another not quite sure of himself dude.
Right, but also like with
Yeah,
the thief thing, like with him being a main character, um, he doesn't seem as much of the focal point in this show as the other characters do in their respective shows.
that's
I
true.
feel like the main character has less weight because there's so much attention given to like the other characters.
That's true. And he also feels very well developed in the sense that like you really see like
Very flawed. Like
very
he's
flawed.
not the
Yeah,
leader. The leader was the
yeah,
priest.
yeah.
So yeah,
Just and that's why I really like their dynamic because they really like you could see them learning from each other because the priest was the leader, but as the thief comes to realize by episode 5, he needed the group.
right.
I mean, he needed the group to do stuff that he could never do on his own,
Right.
and
It is
I
about the unit as opposed
yeah,
to the person.
and that was an interesting realization too. But yeah, the thief trainer was ridiculous. That also was like such a one off. Like, why even?
Right. I remember there's one
Yeah.
scene that they got an angle where they're able to see both like the cleavage of her chest and the cleavage of her butt. And I was just
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah, that shot.
like what?
Oh
I mean, so
yeah,
yeah,
that was.
so there's it's rough. Like the first sort of few episodes are kind of eye rolly. They're kind of rough.
And my note at the end of the first episode is like, so they're broken hungry. The animation's pretty. The music's pretty.
Something that I
Uh,
think is interesting with the animation I want to touch on. But I'll let you finish your thought if you want.
oh, I was just saying that like again, I hadn't hit the whiplash part of the series yet, so I was just like, what the fuck are we doing? You know,
Right.
and after the shows we have watched already, I was completely in the mindset that jack shit was going to happen in this series. I was like, they're going to fight goblins,
I
and
did.
like,
Well, here's the thing. Like, as soon as
yeah,
like when they killed the first goblin, and
yeah,
how hard that was, and how it was trying, how it like wouldn't really go down, and there were times when like when he was just like palm the person's head and like whatever, like that sort of like
visceral,
engagement.
yeah,
It was like these guys are too much of a threat.
yeah,
You know, like there's too much. There's just too much.
yeah. So what were you going to say about the
The
animation?
animation, the backgrounds, and the characters, the quality is completely different. Like with the backgrounds, they're beautiful, but they're sort of like sketches. You know, like the lines aren't really that crisp. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? And I wonder
yeah.
if that was like, but if that was almost like a budget thing, like they had less of a budget, so they made sort of like these almost like painting backgrounds that you'll actually see in some like video games like that and stuff like that. But then they put a lot of emphasis on the music and on the characters and their expressions.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the watercolor
Oh,
backgrounds because
I do too.
yeah,
But I feel as
yeah,
though it would be less expensive to do it that way than it would be to do it like with the same sort of detail that the characters have.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, and what's funny too is, I mean, with the past couple of shows, especially actually last week's show, where you had a lot of CG elements in the background and stuff like that. It was interesting seeing a show that looked. I mean, I know it's digital and all that, but it was interesting seeing a show that didn't have like a CG cart or something like that. Moving through the streets. It was very. It almost felt like. Actually, thinking, I know I already kind of mentioned this, but thinking back to the first Berserk TV show, they had those painted backgrounds that were kind of static and like looked quite different. Usually, than
It
what I
also
mean,
had like I would say Berserk is another sort of vibe that I got from it.
yeah, yeah, because Berserk would, I
Berserk
mean,
I
they
feel
would
like is
do,
more like gothic, you know, in its
yeah,
presentation for sure, but it's
yeah,
there's definitely some similarities in my opinion.
yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it was interesting about the backgrounds because I thought it was pretty, but
Yeah, I mean I thought it
uh,
was pretty too, but I thought that like quality wise it's like wasn't one line, it was and then bloop, 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 bloop,
yeah,
bloop, bloop.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting quote. Yeah,
if that expression makes any sense to our
I
listeners.
actually it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, the goblin fight in episode 2 where they finally kill it. That was that made me perk up a little bit. I was like,
And
oh
like
okay.
didn't really die, and like it was like really
I mean,
they
just
looted it. I thought it's interesting also that the loot is just like on their necklaces.
yeah. What I thought was cool too was you could see how low powered and unprofessional they were based on like how many times they had to stab it. You know what I mean?
Right. And then
Like it
like
wasn't just yeah, it wasn't just like one cut, or even it like they had to fucking like they were all over the place. Like they didn't know where the critical spot, quote unquote, was, or
also with the Death Knight, Demon Knight, Dark Knight,
yeah,
with the Dark Knight,
yeah,
he like hit and like hit the bone and he was like, did that just hit bone? And he like was like gross or like seemed to like be nauseous by that connection, you know?
yeah. And it's funny that the Dark Knight is we never saw his demon, right?
That was weird too. I thought I just missed it because they're like, oh, I've like summoned this. They even had characters saying that how like cute he was and stuff, but we never
Yeah,
saw
she
him.
was like looking in a bag, and so I was thought, oh, he's in a bag. They keep him in a
I
bag.
was so
Yeah,
confused.
yeah, that I was pretty confused by. And then actually, episode 2 had so there's some really great things about how it's directed and stuff. One thing that's kind of odd is that fucking montage in episode 2. I thought it was going to end 3 times, and then it kept going.
Which montage do you mean?
So after they kill the goblin, they all are like, okay, we're just going to take some time off and stuff, and they all kind of split up for a little
Oh, and when
while.
they showed like the whittling with the airplane and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, it was cool, but it was like it was interesting that it
Slow
went on.
paced. It was it
Yeah.
like the show definitely isn't like a fat like Q Kya, the volleyball anime. That's sort of fast
Oh,
paced. Like that's like I can go from
yeah.
like one episode to another episode to another episode to another episode back to back to back to back to back. No problem. I went through like two series like 2 seasons in 2 days. Um
48.
yeah, I destroyed that. But with this, it's almost like you're reading something. It's almost
Yeah,
like it's sort of like a lot. It's all good. I wouldn't say it's like bad slow paced, but
but
it
yeah, it's
definitely
definitely
is different.
yeah, definitely different. And I think the directing is like that too, because there's a couple of scenes where he holds the frame in an interesting way. Like at the end of episode 4, when they're standing around after the guy dies at the very end, and like he
Spoiler
just
alert.
well, yeah, and he just
Yeah.
but the director holds on that shot of them all standing in this little group. It almost felt like do you know in Ava the scene where Shinji is holding Kaoru in his Ava and it just goes for
Right.
minutes,
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that. I was like, I kept waiting, like, I was like, it's gonna end.
Yeah, I
Okay,
really didn't think
yeah,
that they were actually going to cremate him.
yeah, and
And then you
this,
saw the ashes at the end.
yeah,
So the priest dies. Like we sort of skirted
yeah.
around that. So
So
episode 4, and like the way that the episode 4 opened up, I thought was really funny. Like the guy even had a move called Thanks Smash. So everyone got
yeah,
new moves. Like the warrior's name was like Thanks Smash. Like it's like it's Smash, but we call it like Domo Smash because whenever he hits someone, he says thank you or something like
yeah,
that. Like it was really really funny. Um, and then like shit escalated quickly. They fought like tactical, strong
yeah.
goblins.
They got sides. They got
Sideswipe.
surprise attacked by some fucking huge goblins. And it was funny. Is prior to this, I was thinking, what's up with fucking priest? I was like, something's up with them. Something's up. And it was he was going to die. But actually, at the beginning of this episode, he's feeding birds again. I think. Oh no, this is the scene where he is feeding the birds with
Right.
the girl. So my note is like, oh, he's fucking feeding birds. He's definitely got to fucking battle it. Like that's it. He's gonna sacrifice all these motherfuckers. He's too nice. You know what I mean? He's like gathering information, quote unquote, at the
Right.
bar late at night.
Right. Selling them
So
out.
Yeah, that
you know,
was
when he was going through like the camp before he died, right, like before the ambush, and he was talking about all the party members and their traits that he appreciated, and he didn't talk about the main character. I really
right.
want to know what he would have said because it was so motivating hearing the things they had
It
to say
was.
about all the other people. And
Yeah,
then like as soon as he was like, "Man, I really wanted to know what he said about me. Too bad I never got that chance." I was just like, "Wow!"
yeah,
As soon as that happened, I was like, "Oh, buckle up, boys and girls. We're going in for a ride." Like,
yeah, yeah. And that conversation that the hunter has about the dream also is like this little side thing that takes your mind off of where they are. So you can see why they got ambushed, which is because they really forgot where they were. They were still out in the field.
oh, did she tell that story when they were like,
Yeah, yeah. She told it when they were out there, and they were all just hanging out after they killed those goblins. And so,
I
like,
literally just like thought they were at a camp or something. Like, I mean, not a camp. I thought they were at their like home base.
I
But
did
I
too.
think you're right.
Yeah, they're straight up still in the abandoned city. And what's interesting is the demon, the Dark Knight dude in episode 5 kind of says like, well, if he hadn't had to heal you, he could have healed himself. You know, like he could have. And that's true. But what they are also forgetting is that I mean, it really is the fault of the whole group. They completely let down their defenses. Completely.
Right, and also
Yeah.
like if you didn't get hit, like that guy would have healed him anyway. He would have healed
Yeah.
anyone anytime. Anytime, you know, like
Yeah. And it just like it really just highlighted the over reliance they had on this guy, and also the group dynamic was set up all wrong. The healer shouldn't have been in the front of the, you know what I mean, in the so-called like
right.
point
And
position.
like when they were talking before or later, there was this sort of like, yeah, man, like when they other guy was like, oh, too bad your guy died. All nonchalantly, and it was like, yeah, priests die a lot because they're healers. You gotta like, man, my job's just to protect the priests. Like, holy
Yeah,
shit, man.
yeah. And that was interesting. That's also highlighted by the new priest that they get in episode 5, where she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be back here. Like, I'm not gonna fight these things. Like, are you kidding? Like, I'm." And
Yeah,
so she really like that was an interesting character to bring in because she not only completely messes up the dynamic after this kind of traumatizing event, but also she's like, "There's a fucking way you're supposed to do this.
right. You guys are
You
doing
all
it
are not
wrong.
doing
You're
it."
not
Yeah,
professional. You're unorganized.
it's like you don't even have the basics. They let all those goblins escape in episode 5 because they were totally disorganized, and she just looks at them and is like, you're all a mess." Like,
Dude,
like what are you doing?
the freaking show title. I thought it was just a quote at the end of episode 4, but on the episode on episode 5, the did you know the title of episode 5?
Had a long title, right?
It's
Like,
crying doesn't mean you're weak, enduring doesn't mean you're strong.
oh, fuck.
Isn't that like powerful?
Yeah, that's like,
Like that's like fucking intense, you know?
yeah, that's yeah. I mean, for and what's also funny about the fight scene too is when they had the arrow, the first arrow that was coming towards him. I was like, holy fuck, this dude's gonna get fucking shot. I was like, oh my god. And then he gets blocked by the thief, and then immediately I was relaxed. I was like, oh okay, okay, everything's cool. And then when he did actually die, I was like, what? I thought we were good. Like I thought we had gotten through that. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Well, I
really,
mean, like you definitely show him get hit, and also like the thief didn't just take one arrow, right? He got fucking jacked. Like,
I
didn't he
think he
take the
got
arrow
jacked.
in like the shoulder, and then like I thought he got hit again,
I think he did. Yeah.
trying to protect the priest, and then the guy's like, if he didn't
Right.
have to heal you, listen, he would have already been dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Precisely. Yeah, and I just think it was just interesting because it was paced and written really well because the beats of the fight were I thought really well done because I was like in shock. And then when he didn't die, I was like, oh, okay, 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 we've got a chance. And then he's like helping him along, and he's like, oh, good thing you mapped out the town, right? You mapped out this area. And he's like, yeah. Then he fucking gets shot in the back. And as soon as like that goblin was like looking after he shot him with the crossbow on that like there's that shot of the goblin, and I was like, oh, it's either poisoned or he got fucked really bad
Right.
because that goblin had that look of like got one.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right, right,
game
right.
changer.
He
Yeah,
was like lined up, and he was like, nah, super lined it
Yeah.
up, and then like fucking nailed them. And yeah, that was intense.
And then everything changed. And then actually one thing I thought was really done well too, or something that was really done well, was then. Well, actually, let me back up just a second.
Okay.
So they introduced that priest guy in episode 4, who they run to kind of heal their
Yeah,
priest.
his like leader, right?
I wish that they had shown that guy instead of the thief booby girl. I feel like it would have been better to have like somehow. I would have rather have seen him
Seeing him
introduced,
as a trainer,
or
senpai
just
character or whatever.
had some sort of story interaction with them that introduced that guy before the scene. Because when I went there, I made the jump of like, okay, he's like the super healer, super priest,
Right,
or
he
whatever.
resurrects people at the temple.
Yeah, but like they don't tell you that. I mean, there's no.
Right, and
I
then
mean,
God, then he
that.
was like, "Man, this is really sad. This guy had so much promise. He was really talented.
Yeah.
Feels bad." Something that we
I
didn't
mean,
talk about though is the other party. Like the other party, how they're introduced in episode 1
oh
when he called
yeah.
the shopkeeper a pervert, and then the shopkeeper like tried
Yeah.
to stab him, and he grabbed the weapon, and like that was another part when I was like, "What?" Like this might be an intense show. You
Yeah,
know,
and
like
also it also seems like the shop the or the in person, he knows more than he's like. It seems like whatever is going on, however people are getting here or something like that. Like he knows the system, not just like he knows the. I don't know, I had the feeling that he's in on it more than with the guards in front of the building they woke up in and stuff like that. Like I feel like they're all in on it more than they're letting on, possibly.
I don't know. I'm
I
assuming
don't.
we'll find out later, but it is kind of mysterious.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard.
But
It's actually done. It feels like Lost or something like that, where they just like they
right,
show up and it's something weird like that. But a funny little. I actually haven't checked it, so I don't know for sure. But I'm 99% sure that the head priest that they go to, he says, "Look, you're gonna have to burn the body because the no life king, he'll be, in a few days he'll come back as a revenant or a zombie or whatever." What's really funny is I'm pretty sure the guy, the voice actor for the head priest, is Alucard's voice actor from Helsing, and
oh
Alucard refers to
really?
himself
Oh, that's
as
really
the
funny
no,
if that's true.
yeah, and he refers to himself as the no life, or he gets referred to as the no life king and all that stuff. So I had a little note where I was like, "That's really fucking funny coming from fucking Alucard." I'm 99% sure it's the same voice
Yeah,
actor. Could
I
be
think that
wrong.
I think that our video, at least on my end, seems to be messing up. So like we're doing like a video chat, but I think you should probably like cut it off, and that might help.
Want me to cut the video?
Yeah.
All
All right.
right. Okay.
But yeah, like that is really interesting about the No Life King.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I'm pretty sure
Also,
that
like
that's
when episode 1, when episode 5 started up, and they were talking about
mm,
how um it's like one person dies, and the cost of taking care of everything just costs like a single silver. I thought that was
oh
a
yeah,
really intense scene.
yeah, that was intense. Yeah, they did a good job of showing how like it's so shocking when they lost a party member, and then that weird feeling of like not necessarily like it is a measure of like how cheap life is in a certain respect, but also how odd it is, like how easy it is for someone to just go away,
Right.
and for there to be like just an odd feeling of, oh, it's only this much,
Well, I think
It's like,
that's also related to how the other party member acted when he discovered that their person died. Like they're really
uh,
upset, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the priest died. Yeah, priests die." You know, like
yeah,
it just sort of gives you like
yeah,
a feeling that the world is a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters, and then there's a lot of potential and people that are being snuffed out.
yeah, and I think you see that especially with the other party dude they run into, the guy who grabbed the knife in the first episode. He gives them a gold piece, uh, for like their loss, and the thief
Right. And then they
says he can't
return it,
accept it and
which
all
was
that,
gangster as
return it,
fuck.
which was gangster as fuck. But I think it was interesting that you kind of feel like that group has seen a lot of shit. They just look like they had been through shit, and the fact that he gave them a gold piece, I think it shows that there's a lot of shit going down everywhere in Grimgar.
I mean, maybe they have gone through a lot of stuff, but I almost feel like that character is just a guy who's going through things with like militaristic precision. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's
But he still obviously feels something for the group. I mean, that's I don't know.
yeah.
There's
But that
something
play
there.
was also like kind of douchey and alpha. You know, like
That's
it was
true.
kind of like it was like my condolences to this guy. Here, have a coin. You guys are gonna need it.
Yeah.
You know, like, but so it's like, yeah, it's. I mean, it can be seen both ways. It's cool that he offered his condolences, but
Yeah. One thing I also liked about episode 5 is, especially in regards to the thief's emotional journey, I feel like, what's the best way of describing it? Basically, the thief really earns his emotional path through the episode perfectly. I felt like all of his story beats were awesome
yeah,
because you see how flawed he is as a character. You see his like what he goes through mentally to get to the point of like, oh, it's about it's about the group. Like he couldn't do it without by himself. It wasn't that he was like the super best of all of us. It
right.
was just that we need each other and we need to communicate with each other. So he didn't. This didn't just happen. He was sad and then he was like, "Oh, I'm a badass. I'll take over the group. I'll lead us to victory."
He was sort of like becoming understanding being a leader. It was sort of
Yeah.
like what the beats were. I do not though understand what the fuck happened at the end of that episode.
so
I watched it
this
twice
is
and I still don't get it.
so the scene with the hunter girl.
There were
So
a
I
few
like
times I
that.
thought they were gonna kiss.
I actually thought they were gonna just end up
Just boning
to
right
boning. Yeah,
right
like
outside of the
yeah.
bathhouse.
Because I actually really liked how the scene went because he invited this new healer into the group. Nobody consulted them, and you really felt like the air hadn't been cleared. You really felt like they hadn't talked since as a group since the guy died, and he had definitely not talked to the hunter since he died. And they had that interesting conversation after that. Oh god, this was another eye rolling moment. But when the Dark Knight goes to peep on the girls in the bath, and then ruins the group dynamic for like that whole rest of the episode because they're super pissed and creeped out.
Right.
Uh,
It's like,
I
oh,
was
the
like,
wall just fell. It's like, ugh.
yeah, the Death Knight guy. Like, I'm glad that he's getting a little more characterization because he is annoying as fuck for the first 3 episodes, 4 episodes. But anyway, the thief had that interesting conversation in the woods with the hunter there, and I so it was nice that like he was like, okay, I've got to talk to her, and obviously the other girl was really like the priests, but also is just not good with communicating with the guys in general. So I liked how they played that conversation because it was serious. It was like they were both really sad. They both kind of came to terms with their feelings, and then you have this fucking gag where the other girl looks out the window, and I think the joke is that it looks like she's blowing him. Is I think
Maybe.
that's what I got. Is that it looks like from that angle that she was giving him a blowjob, uh, and then he gets it, and then the other girl is like really embarrassed, and then it takes the hunter a minute to like be like, oh, okay, I can see how that would be.
But God, wait, what does she say? And then he's like, "Why are you saying it like that?"
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. She like isn't that like concerned by it.
yeah,
She's like, oh yeah, I can see how it was could be seen like that or something. And he was like, don't be that chill about it. And then that's where just the episode ends. Uh, so I think I like how the structure was that he goes through these emotional beats where he's like, in mourning and stuff like that. And then I like how this conversation started off really serious, and ends on a joke. That was like,
yeah.
I like those turns. I don't know if it was the best execution. I don't know if it was the best way of doing that, but I do like that twist of like starting it serious and ending with a joke and ending it, because I also kind of feel like we went through this mourning process with the whole group during this episode for this guy who I was just completely shocked how much I cared that he had died. uh, and then at the end of it, you're left. I think the intention is that you're left laughing at the end of it. Uh, but was that the right joke? Is that
I
how it
just
should have been?
didn't. I almost feel like I was lost in some sort of translation somewhere because I didn't
Yeah,
quite get what was going on.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
I
mean,
still think it's fine though.
I think they could have just done something better. I don't know, other than like this weird sight gag or a line of sight gag. Like I don't know. I think we could have gotten a more well thought out joke, or they just would have ended up hooking up.
Right.
I don't know, and like maybe I don't know. They walk in together in the morning or something, and everybody's like, "Where the fuck have you guys been?" Actually, that almost would have been better because then you would have gotten the whole group together at the end of the episode. Whereas this was really just like after this conversation of him realizing like the group is what's important. It's like no, they hook up and then they come in kind of in the morning and
Right.
everybody's there like both of you were on breakfast duty. Like where's my fucking muffins.
Right. Right. Got some muffins last night. Oh.
Yeah, so I think that would have been more effective, but yeah, it's kind of interesting how this director, like he's obviously got some real talent for the drama and for like really those emotional stakes, but there's some weird fan service choices that don't I think they don't hamstring the entire series, but it comes close. It comes close to being too much.
Yeah, it does sort of take you out of the feel or whatever.
Yeah, no. But I think that's it overall. I'd give this sucker two thumbs up. I
Yeah.
mean, with some minuses, but I mean overall it was. I really want to watch the rest of it, and I had a great time watching it.
Yeah. Some gripes, but it was super strong. For sure.
Yeah. So, are we doing an episode next week?
Yeah.
Sweet. I think what we were talking about before was Snow White with the red hair.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
sure.
is that what we're doing?
Sure.
Did you have something else already picked
I was
out?
thinking about
Or
the Seven Deadly Sins film, but we could also do the Snow White
oh,
thing.
that's true.
Or
We
we
could
could
do
do
that.
them both. Wednesday,
Oh,
Sunday.
that's true.
There'll be things and stuff.
Yeah. So I just say watch
All the anime. Just watch it all.
watch all the anime, and then we'll catch you guys back here in the next episode.
Yeah, man. Take it easy.